The day my mother died, my grandfather abused me until I bled.
I was 10 years old when I first learned that the scariest monsters do not hide under beds or in closets. They sit at the dinner table, smiling as they pass the mashed potatoes and bow their heads to whisper prayers before meals. To the outside world, they seem like good people, but behind closed doors, they hold secrets too heavy for a child to bear. When Mama was alive, she made everything feel safe. She hummed soft songs while cooking, and the sound of her laughter filled every corner of the house. But the day she died, everything changed. The air became heavy, and silence wrapped around the walls, like a chain I couldn't break. I thought my grandfather would comfort me, that he would take me in his arms and tell me I was not alone. Instead, I felt something I could not understand then, a strange sensation that left me shaking in fear. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining it, that perhaps it was just grief making the world feel strange. But the pain that followed made me realize I wasn't mistaken. It was real, and it left scars no one could see. I could not tell anyone. Who would listen to a little girl over a man respected by the whole town? He was the one who sat in church every Sunday, reading verses in a steady voice and nodding his head as the preacher spoke about righteousness. If I spoke up, they would call me a liar or worse, say I was bringing shame to the family name. So I learned to stay silent. I swallowed my words and tears, hiding them under the same pillow that caught my cries each night. I prayed the way children shouldn't have to pray. I begged for Mama to come back, for God to make it stop, for someone to see what was happening. But the prayers seemed to disappear into the ceiling, leaving me alone with fear that grew heavier every night. While the outside world thought I was just a shy girl, inside I was drowning in secrets no child should ever carry. The house I grew up in was not built with chains, yet I lived in a prison. Every wall knew my secrets, and every door carried echoes of the things I could never say. By day, I wore a smile that sometimes fooled even me. I laughed with other children, answered politely in school, and nodded at church when people called me a sweet little girl. But when night came, the truth returned. I curled up in bed, waiting for footsteps in the hallway. I never knew which nights would bring peace and which ones would bring pain. That fear stole the joy of being a child. There were times when I wanted to scream, to run into the night and beg the world to hear me. But in a small town like ours, family names carried more weight than truth. My grandfather was seen as a man of faith, someone everyone respected. I knew if I spoke, my words would be crushed before they ever left my lips. So I carried my silence like a heavy stone pressed against my chest, learning to smile even when my heart was breaking. The hardest part was not just the pain I endured, but the way it made me feel invisible, like I was fading into the shadows of my own life. Years passed, and the world saw me grow into a woman. They noticed the apron around my waist, the pies cooling on the windowsill, and the gentle smile I wore at the farmer's market. To everyone, I was Grandma Ellie, kind and dependable, the woman who never missed Sunday service. But no one ever knew that beneath my smile lived the cries of a 10-year-old girl who never got the chance to heal. I learned how to hide my pain behind chores, behind prayers, and behind motherhood. I raised children, tended gardens, baked bread, and sang hymns. I lived a life that seemed whole, but inside, pieces of me were missing. Sometimes, in the quiet of the night, I would sit by the window and stare at the stars, wondering if Mama could see me from where she was. I wished she could wrap her arms around me again, tell me that it wasn't my fault and that I was not to blame. But she was gone, leaving me with only the silence of the night to answer me.
So I carried on, year after year, burying my truth deeper, smiling wider so no one would see the cracks. Even as my hair turned gray, the weight of those memories remained, pressing down on my soul like it did when I was a child. Now, at 78 years old, I can no longer carry this story inside me. The silence has been my prison for more than 50 years, and I do not want to leave this world without sharing my truth. I am not doing this for pity. I am sharing it because I know there are others like me, living in the shadows of family secrets and feeling too small to be heard. I want them to know that silence does not protect us, it only feeds the monsters. I want them to see that even after a lifetime of carrying pain, there is still strength in speaking out. When people look at me now, they see a fragile old woman with white hair and wrinkled hands. But what they cannot see is the little girl inside me who finally found her voice. It took me decades, but I am no longer afraid of what people will say or how they will look at me. This is my truth, and by sharing it, I am reclaiming what was stolen from me. My story is not just about pain, it is about survival. If my words reach even one person who feels trapped in silence, then all the years I spent carrying this weight will not have been in vain.